Welcome to Speaking Holistically, the podcast that explores the power of alternative medicine, natural healing, and homeopathic solutions to help you achieve true wellness. Each week, Dr. Jen and Amy G dive into the world of holistic health, discussing researched, time-tested remedies with expert insights from Dr. Jen, as well as real-life stories from patients to empower you to take charge of your health. So if you're ready to embrace a more natural path to wellness, let's start speaking holistically, because true healing begins from within. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Speaking Holistically. I'm your co-host, Amy G. I'm here with my amazing co-host, Dr. Jen, and we're doing a Common Health Concerns episode on broken bones.
Perfect. So we can absolutely get into this. Recently, my nephew actually was in an accident and fractured 4 of his vertebrae. And so he races. And so they were at a racetrack and they ended up bringing him down to me before they took him home. They obviously took him to the hospital first and did all the scans and checked him out and everything. And so we did some dry needling. We adjusted the areas we could adjust. Obviously, we're not going to adjust the areas to the fracture, but the other areas around that had to compensate. So if we could get everything back into place, then he'll heal faster and more proper as things go on. My son broke his arm, his ulna, which is the bone from the pinky all the way up to the elbow. He broke that about 95% through. And I used a carpal tunnel brace actually instead of casting it so that we could do red light therapy on it. So there's a lot of options. Back in the day, they just stick you in a hard cast and then you wouldn't have full range of motion. So most of the people that were casted for elbow or arm injuries, they were casted at a 90-degree angle, and now they can't straighten their arms out at all. They can go almost all the way, but not all the way. So, we've come a long way with how we used to manage this stuff. It's kind of been antiquated with how things have been managed. So there's a lot that you can do for broken bones. First of all, I want to go through the fact that the healing time for minor fractures is usually 6 to 8 weeks, but more significant ones can take up to 20 weeks. A lot of my patients are usually completely healed in 3 to 6 weeks with the recommendations I'm going to give you now. So you can absolutely speed that up. Now, if you're off work and you don't want to heal too fast, just heal fast and then milk the last few weeks of it and go on vacation. So, but you want to heal faster than not. But the biggest thing is nutrition. You can't heal things without proper nutrition. So you can't be eating fast food and junk like that. Everything that goes into your mouth is either killing you or making you healthier. Nothing is neutral, literally nothing. So the minerals are going to be super, super, super important. I have a CalMag supplement that I formulated, and 50% of the calcium is microcrystalline hydroxyapatite. And now that's getting a lot of movement because people are like, you need that in your toothpaste and put it on topically. And so now people have heard of this, even though I designed this calcium 20 years ago or whatever.
I've been on it just as long as you've had it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it works great.
It does.
So 50% of it is microcrystalline hydroxyapatite. There's 6 other calciums in it. There's 2 magnesiums. There's phosphorus. There's vitamin D. There's potassium, there is boron, vitamin C, there's a ton of stuff. I always say that, I don't want to take a supplement with just one thing in it. Give me the whole kit and caboodle and I'll just take extra of that one thing instead of opening 15 different bottles, But the deal is you want definitely enough calcium. And like I said, make sure it has microcrystalline hydroxyapatite because that is for bone matrix building. That's going to be really important. It can have other calcium in it as well. I tend to try to stay away from calcium that is calcium carbonate as the primary source because that's basically chalkboard chalk and it neutralizes stomach acid, and you need high stomach acid concentration in order to absorb that calcium. Vitamin D, obviously super critical. You don't need to be doing 20,000 IU. You don't want to cause a hypervitaminosis D. But if you were getting 3,000 to 5,000 in a day, not a bad idea, but vitamin D does have to be converted by the kidneys, the parathyroid glands, and the liver. So that being said, support the liver, increase your water intake, and obviously limiting or not drinking alcohol is going to be really, really important. Smoking also will hinder the healing process. My son, who broke his arm 95% through, had been taking 3 of the CalMag since he was 2 years old. If he hadn't been, he probably would have broken both of the bones in the forearm, and we would have ended up in surgery. So the fact that he'd been doing that since he was a little itty bitty made all the difference in the world.
I bet.
A diet full of protein is going to be really important. So protein contains amino acids. They're the building blocks for your body, for repair, especially bone repair. Lean meats, fish. I'm not a big fan of dairy. So if you're going to do some dairy, but don't do the majority of it being dairy. Beans and nuts are a good idea as well. Vitamin C helps your body produce collagen. So it's not just vitamin C, but the vitamin C complex that usually contains bioflavonoids or something. A lot of people are taking collagen in and of itself. That's fine. You can absolutely do that. And we did talk about in a previous episode about BPC 157, which I love from Quicksilver Scientific. Absolutely, absolutely love it. Now, phosphorus is super, super, super important. And we don't get enough of it out of our diets anymore because of the synthetic fertilizers that are being used. So phosphorus is going to help the calcium basically bind and help it be utilized. So that's going to be something else that can be helpful. So phosphorus can be high in nuts, whole grains, and dairy. But like I said, try not to overdo the dairy if it's pasteurized. And dairy is not going to kill you, but you don't want it to be the primary source of your protein.
Sure.
Staying active is going to be helpful. Kind of some weight bearing if possible, even if it's if it's a fracture, like a stress fracture in the foot, you want to stay off of that until you get those nutrients up. But if you have a minor fracture somewhere, movement is not terrible because it's going to get blood to that area. So one of the biggest things, like I said, get adjusted, the areas around it, just to make sure that everything is moving properly so the muscles are not pulling on it weird, it's healing properly. Obviously, after my nephew races pro-level go-karts, and so those suckers don't have any shocks. And so when he landed and flipped over and landed on all four tires, his spine took the brunt of it and ended up with 4 compression fractures. So fortunately, the disc survived. He's great at his diet. He eats really healthy. So we did dry needling, we did adjusting, but we did Saluma, which is the infrared, blue light, and red light therapy together. And actually, when our son did that, when he broke his arm, in 3 days, we only had him do it because he was 8 years old. We only had him do it 15 minutes twice a day. He had no pain in 3 days. And in 1 week, he had complete range of motion. And he said, "Mom, I think it's healed." And I'm like, not quite yet, but I'm glad that you're feeling so good, So it made a huge, huge, huge difference. He has full range of motion now, no issues with it. Everything healed beautifully. We never had it casted. We did, like I said, I got creative and used a carpal tunnel brace and put it and supported his entire forearm because he was small enough that it went from his wrist all the way to his elbow. And so we were able to cinch it down, take it off, put the red light therapy on it, and then put it back on. So
I remember that. And I remember being so impressed with how fast he healed. I was really shocked. I was like, that's incredible.
But his nutrition is impeccable. I mean, he drinks literally nothing but water. He takes all of his vitamins every day. He's the best out of all of our kids, always has been. So, he does it on his own and he healed extremely fast. But I told him what he needed to do and he just did it because he wanted to go outside and play again,
Yeah.
So it makes a huge difference. So really it's the nutrition and some of the modalities that you can do to make sure you're getting blood to that area. Massage can be helpful depending on how damaged it is and how much of a break and if you can even get to it. Yeah. My mom broke her leg years ago and we opted to do an air cast, so she could take it off. She could do massage to get blood to that area, red light therapy once again, and put that back on as opposed to one of those hard casts. And they're getting better and better at that and doing plastic molded casting so that you can take it off and put it back on. So things are going to heal better and we don't have to live in such an antiquated world when it comes to broken bones and taking care of it. So spinal breaks, calcium, magnesium, those minerals are going to be super helpful. Don't forget that you can get magnesium gel, you can get magnesium lotion and use that so that it can absorb right through the skin. It helps calm down those muscles that are ticked off. It'll increase the pain threshold so you don't perceive it as quickly, either the pain as quickly.
Wow.
So that's really what happens is minerals, if you have enough minerals in your body, it literally increases the pain threshold so you don't perceive it as fast. If you have a mineral deficiency, you're going to perceive pain faster.
Oh, I bet most people don't even know that.
So doing that's going to be super helpful, trying to move to whatever is comfortable, obviously. So doing those things, vitamin D, like we talked about, is going to help with the absorption of it and help the bones heal faster. But those are the basic things that can help. So a lot of people will take painkillers. They'll take they'll take muscle relaxers and, they'll end up staying in bed. And you do what you have to do, obviously, but the point is to try to start moving around, to get blood pumping to those areas, to get stuff kind of healthy again. So blood brings nutrients, brings oxygen and nutrients to that area. And if you're laying there static, and obviously if you broke your back bad enough, you're going to be laying there static as long as you have to. Yeah. But if you can, even if you can get some sort of a gentle massage just to kind of get the lymph moving and to get the blood to that area is going to help decrease the healing time, but it's going to increase the speed of which people heal. Minerals are your friend.
They are. Well, and I think a lot of people, they only know the traditional ways to treat broken bones. And so this is eye-opening to say, hey, there's a different way to do this that will allow some range of motion where it's not just sitting there in a hard cast, muscles are atrophying and all of that. I think this gives people another avenue to go that is going to end up with a well-healed bone, and they get to maintain their range of motion and retain their muscles in that area too.
Yeah, like I said, our son was healed. Literally, his ulna was broken 95% through. Thankfully, it wasn't 100% and it wasn't displaced. Otherwise, we would have ended up, obviously, in surgery, potentially. So we did what we could do within our repertoire to be able to manage it. And it worked fabulously. And like I said, it was basically minerals. Fish oil is really helpful for inflammation. And fish oil also does have naturally occurring vitamin A and vitamin D in it. So we did a whole host of this stuff. He was taking supplements 3 or 4 times a day, and we bribed him with his iPad for the 15 minutes twice a day that he could do the Saloma. So he was like, oh, it's time to do it. And he'd go grab everything and put himself together and put it on. And I'm like, dang, this is great, So I'm not above that. But
hey, you got to do what you got to do. He needed to heal, right?
And it was 15 minutes twice a day, right? So it's like he was so super excited to be able to get the iPad for 15 minutes twice a day. So, so really it's nutrition. It's going to help it heal so much faster. A lot of people don't know that bone bruises take 6 to 8 weeks to heal. So even if you hadn't broken your bone and you just bruised it, it's going to take that long. So like I said, dietary stuff, protein, supplements, all those things are going to help increase the speed of healing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Jen. That was really interesting. I think that'll help a lot of people who have kids with broken bones and adults too, right? Just knowing there's another way, I think is wonderful and refreshing. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that there's another approach to broken bones. So, and a special shout out to Elizabeth. This was Elizabeth's topic. So thank you for suggesting this, Elizabeth. So we're going to cover more of your stuff later.
She's got a list. We like it.
Yeah, we're knocking them down one by one. Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you haven't joined our school community before, we'll put the link in the show notes below. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, everybody. Bye-bye. That wraps up another episode of Speaking Holistically. Thank you for listening. We hope today's conversation gave you new insights and inspiration to take charge of your health. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, be sure and join the Speaking Holistically school community by clicking the link in the show notes. There, you'll get access to daily podcast episodes, weekly live Q&As, educational content, and so much more. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, be well, stay curious, and keep speaking holistically.